I have been a long-haul driver for most of my adult life, and I've spent more lonely nights on endless highways than I can count. Over the years, I've grown used to the endless ribbon of asphalt, the hypnotic rhythm of white lines flicking past, and the kind of silence that feels almost alive. I thought I'd seen it all: drunk drivers, near collisions, animals darting across the road, but nothing prepared me for what I experienced one night on I-70 in Kansas. That night was colder than usual for early fall, the kind of chill that seeps into your sleeves no matter how high you crank the heater. The sky was a solid, heavy gray, swallowing the stars and hiding even the moon behind thick clouds. The road stretched endlessly ahead of me, my high beams carving out a lonely tunnel of pale light. The steady hum of the tires and the occasional whistle of wind against the car were my only company. It was 2 a.m., and I hadn't seen another set of headlights in miles. A faint unease had already started to creep in, a quiet reminder of just how isolated I really was. Then, suddenly when I was driving, I saw a man stood directly in the middle of the highway, motionless, facing me. At first I thought I was imagining it, a trick of the lights or a sign knocked loose by the wind. But no, he was real. He was tall, dressed in dark clothes that seemed to absorb every bit of my headlights. And even from a distance, I could make out the pale, almost gray skin of his face streaked with what looked like dried blood. His head tilted slightly downward, but his eyes, wide, wild, and furious, logged into mine the second my lights hit him. I slammed on the brakes, my sedan groaning as it slowed to a crawl, tires squealing against the damn pavement. He didn't move an inch. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my throat, every beat like a drum against my ribcage. For a split second, I considered swerving around him, but something about the way he stood there, perfectly still, perfectly wrong, kept me frozen. I eased the car to a stop, my hands trembling as I cracked the driver's window just an inch, enough to let my voice out but nothing else. My breath fogged the glass, making his figure blur and sharpen with every exhale. "Can I help you?" I called, my voice shaky and too thin in the vast, empty night. He didn't answer. Then slowly began walking toward my door. Each step was deliberate, heavy, echoing in the dead silence, as if the road itself carried the sound back to me. Panic surged through me like a jolt of electricity. My stomach knotted, and every survival instinct screamed at once. I shut the window tight and double-checked that every door was locked, my fingers fumbling against the buttons. He reached my side of the car and leaned in close, his face inches from the glass. In the harsh beam of the headlights, I could see streaks of dried something, blood, maybe mud, along his cheek. With one finger, he motioned for me to roll the window down. His eyes were wild, pupils blown wide, his lips pressed into a thin, angry line. "I'm sorry," I stammered through the glass, barely recognizing my own voice. "Just tell me what you need." Suddenly, he yanked at the door handle, jerking it violently. The car rocked under the force as he pounded on the glass with his fist. Then, with both hands, slamming hard enough that I thought the window might shatter. Each thought rattled through my bones. His eyes never left mine. Instinct took over. I threw the car into gear and floored it, tires squealing as I shot forward, the roar of the engine droning out everything. In the rear view mirror, I caught one last glimpse of him, standing dead center in the road, his outline shrinking into the darkness until it was swallowed completely by night. I didn't stop again until the next major rest area, where I sat shaking in the driver's seat for nearly an hour, heart still hammering, palms slick with sweat despite the cold. Even after I forced myself back onto the road, every shadow felt like it was waiting to step into my headlights. Later, when I asked around, other drivers told me that a stretch of I-70 carried a dark reputation, stories of robberies, assaults, even a murder years ago. Now, no matter how tired I am, I never stop on that road at night. And sometimes, when the highway is quiet and the clouds swallow the stars, I wonder what would have happened if I had hesitated just a few seconds longer. This happened 2 years ago. I used to drive my car on long night trips. There was a strange comfort in the empty roads, a stillness that feels like the world is asleep and I have it all to myself. The hum of the engine, the crisp night air seeping in through a cracked window, it always gave me a sense of calm. It wasn't unusual to find myself alone on a countryside road at 3 a.m., my headlights cutting through endless cornfields or shadowy stretches of woods, where the darkness seemed to swallow everything outside that narrow beam of light. One Saturday night, after leaving a friend's party, I decided to take a different route home, a shortcut a crew worker had once mentioned. It was a pitch black road with no street lights. My phone signal had dropped minutes earlier, but I wasn't worried about it that much. It usually happens. Everything was quiet until I saw a figure, someone walking, though at first I wasn't sure. After looking closely, I realized it was a young woman walking alone on the shoulder, a pale figure emerging from the darkness. She wore a long, old-fashioned white dress, the kind you'd expect to see in a faded wedding photo or antique trunk. Her hair was long and dark. She looked completely out of place, like she'd stepped out of another time. For a moment, I hesitated. Every instinct warned me to keep driving, but my chivalrous side overruled my gut. Maybe she was lost or stranded. Maybe she needed help. I slowed down, rolled down the window, and asked if she needed a ride. She didn't speak. She just nodded once, slow and deliberate, before reaching for the door handle. The door creaked open and she slipped into the back seat with a quiet grace. She settled silently behind me, her presence so still it felt unnatural. I asked where she was headed, and in a soft, almost detached voice she gave me an address a few miles away. As I drove, I caught glimpses of her in the rear-view mirror. She stared at me the entire time, unblinking, her dark eyes locked on the back of my head. The longer the drive, the colder the air inside the car seemed to grow. I tried to make a small talk to cut the tension, but she remained silent, her gaze never shifting. Each passing mile made my unease tighten into something sharper, and I began to regret stopping at all. When I finally reached the address, an uneasy sickness settled in my stomach. It wasn't a house, it was a rundown estate, its windows boarded up and its porch swallowed by tall weeds and creeping vines. The place looked abandoned for decades. "We are here," I said, forcing myself to smile. She didn't reply, she just got out of the car slowly. While still inside the car, I caught movement. Two men emerged from the shadows of the porch, large and broad-shouldered, each holding something metal that glinted faintly in my headlights. Maybe knives, maybe crowbars. Their steps were deliberate, their faces hard to read in the darkness, but the intent was clear. They were coming straight toward me. Adrenaline surged, my heart pounding so hard it blurred my vision. I twisted the key and the engine roared awake. The two men broke into a run, gravel crunching beneath their boots. I threw the car into a reverse, tires spitting stones as I spun the wheel. One of them hurled a rock that smacked against the rear panel with a metallic crack. I didn't wait to see more. I floored the gas and I shot back toward the main road. Finally, I reached the brightly lit gas station on the highway. I dialed 911. The dispatcher kept me on the line until an officer arrived. They promised to check the address. Later that night, another officer called back, but his words chilled me. He said the estate was empty, no lights, no people, just an old rotten building that had been abandoned for years. Since that night, I can't bring myself to drive alone on side roads after dark. I will never stop to help a stranger again. In 2014, I was driving alone across the Nevada desert, heading to visit family in California. The highway was endless, flat and empty. It was midnight. There is a special silence in the desert at night. A weight pressing down on your chest, reminding you how far you are from anyone who could help if anything happened. That's when I saw the headlights in my rearview mirror. At first I was relieved. After all, it's unsettling to be the only one out there. But then, I noticed something odd. No matter how fast or slow I was driving, the car behind me maintained the same distance, a perfect unchanging gap. I told myself I was being overly suspicious. Maybe they just happened to be going faster than me. But the car surged forward, its high beams blazing until I was nearly blinded. My heart pounded as I gripped the wheel, trying to stay calm. I changed lanes, but so did they. I accelerated to 90 miles per hour, sweat pouring down my back. They matched me move for move. Then, without warning, the lights went out. The road behind me plunged into darkness. I waited for impact, convinced they turned off their lights to hit me, but it didn't come. I risked the lock in the rear view mirror, seeing nothing but black desert stretching for miles. For a moment I thought I caught the faint glint on a chrome bumper disappearing down a maintenance road, but it was gone into the darkness before I could be sure. The silence grew thicker, almost alive. I gripped the steering wheel until my joints ached, hearing only the roar of the engine and the soft clink of loose tools in the glove box. Each mile marker I passed felt like it took an eternity to reach. I drove as fast as I could until I caught the light of a gas station far ahead, a small oasis of light in the void. When I stumbled in, still shocked from what happened, the clerk behind the counter barely glanced at me. "You are not the first," he said quietly. "It happens around here all the time. Some say it's a gang, some say they pick up a car, play with it, and then disappear down the side roads before anyone can react." That night I barely slept. Even now, whenever I drive through the desert, I keep one eye on the rear view mirror, worried they might come back. Thank God I made it out alive.